Welcome to the Victory Road Team Analysis Series. In this series, I'll be analyzing the teams that participated in the FNF Victory Road Draft League, and sometimes I'll be joined by the team coaches themselves, which is always a fun time. And this time, that's exactly what's happening, as I am joined with Emberhoof of the Rio Grande Rapidash team. Emberhoof, if you want to say hi.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here, and thanks for participating in the league. It was good having you. I'm really excited to discuss your team because I think your team is one of the more interesting teams. I'm actually kind of sad that we didn't get to fight each other because I was really anticipating facing your team, but maybe next league, or if we could even do like an informal out of league fight just for fun if you want to.
I would totally be down for that. In week 10, the two people who I wanted to fight the most was either you or Colin. You because I wanted to take a shot at your 9-0, and Colin because he's just helped me out so much throughout this league, and I felt like battling him would just be a real test of strength. See how far I've really come.
Yeah, and I think how far you've come shows in the record, which we'll discuss shortly. But before we get into all that, I actually wanted to ask, so why Rio Grande as part of your team name, Rio Grande Rapidash?
Alright, so for those of you who don't know, I live in Colorado, and I've lived here for about 12, 13 years. And there's this river that flows through Colorado. It's called the Rio Grande River. And yeah, it just makes me feel closer to home.
You know, that's
with that river.
That's actually really interesting because I always thought it was a Brazil reference. I was like, have you been to Brazil? Do you like Brazil a lot? Okay.
I'm not gonna lie, I would love to go to Brazil, just I don't think that'll ever happen anytime soon.
That makes a lot more sense. Okay, I actually like that. I like that little piece of lore that I learned right now. I didn't know that there was a river by that name in Colorado. That's pretty cool.
And then Rapidash. Rapidash is kind of my mascot Pokemon, and also I like horses.
Yeah, I mean Emberhoof makes sense. Rapidash is very fitting. So yeah, and Rapidash actually did get some cool stuff going on, as we'll see later. One of the weeks it was actually, well, I'll keep that for later. We'll get there. All right, so moving in. So I'm on the page now with your initial team, and you are actually one of the few teams, like me, and like Tiller, I believe, was the only other one who did not change their Pokemon at all in the entire league. I think there was 1 week that you were considering trading Cryogonal, and I'm actually kind of glad you didn't, because after that, you used Cryogonal really well. So, I wanted to ask, what was your thought process drafting this team?
With this team, I went into this season with a completely different mindset. I was looking for a lot of mons that could really cover type weaknesses a whole lot, because if anybody saw me in preseason, I had this really big glaring weakness to like ice and rock and a third type. I don't remember which one it was because I'm really trying not to remember that team and a lot of the bad stuff that happened in preseason. But definitely in this season, I was trying to go for more type coverage. Like, looking at my team right now, it's really hard to see one type that really just stands out and mollywops my team. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can make the argument for Ice with Lando, Togekiss, Virizion, and Latios, but for every one of those, there's like 2 others that just cover that weakness insanely well.
Yeah. Ice is also one of those types that, like, every team is going to have a few Pokemon weak to Ice, because Ice is just such a good offensive type, so I actually think your team, at least in the initial team, I think your team was the strongest initial draft. And I'm not just saying this because I'm talking to you right now. I've told this to many people. I think your team was actually probably one of the best drafted. Looking at it, the core of Lando, Mega Aggron, and Zeraora is extremely strong. And on top of that, you have a lot of good other options to complement that. So I think that you did a really good job drafting. And I do respect that you actually didn't make any exchanges. Not that there's anything wrong with making exchanges, but there is a sort of pride, I guess, in being able to carry your original team all the way through all the battles without making any changes. So that's pretty cool. Why did you give Latios and Zeraora your Z privilege?
With Zeraora has a really big, diverse move pool with moves like Plasma Fist, Drain Punch, Knockoff. I think it also gets some of the Elemental Punches. I'm pretty sure. I think it only gets Fire and Thunder Punch. I know for a fact it doesn't get Ice Punch, but I know it at least gets Fire and Thunder Punch, I believe. So I figured Zeraora being a very hyper offensive mon in either way, being physical or special, I felt like he would be really good for an attacking move set. And with Latios, I gave Latios the Z Any because Latios has all these really good status moves. It gets Roost, it gets Safeguard, I think it gets Home Claws.
I think so. And it definitely gets Calm Mind too.
It gets Calm Mind, and I figured with Latios I would have a lot more opportunities to try and use Z status moves. It never really came to fruition, mostly because I don't know what Z status moves do. But on the offensive side, there was also things like Draco Meteor and Psychic that I could have used, and those are Latios' bread and butter.
Yeah.
So, and Latios is kind of a jack of all trades kind of thing with its base stats. I think it's 110 in special attack and 130 in special defense. And then pretty good speed and HP.
Yeah, and I think those were good choices because they complement each other well, both having that big coverage, but also being able to hit on the special and physical side. So that was a good choice too.
Big honorary mention for Z attack mons. I was thinking Rapidash at one point, and I was also thinking Landorus Therian. Landorus Therian because no one's going to want to take a Z ground move from Landorus Therian. Nothing really wanted to take a base Earthquake from it, but...
Yeah.
And then with Rapidash, you get Flare Blitz, which, as we've seen in some weeks, it hits like a truck.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets other moves like Poison Jab and Mega Horn, Wild Charge, Drill Run. There's like 5 or 6 Z crystals that it could use, and it could really be it could have been a really niche kind of thing that people wouldn't really expect.
Yeah, I think those are also good choices, and even without the Z crystal, you use them pretty well. I also wanted to give a shout out to Xploud. Shout out, pun intended. Xploud was one Pokemon that in the preseason, despite the kind of mess that the preseason was, for better for worse, it was a nice testing ground, definitely. Xploud was like the Pokemon that I associated with you most because you used it really well with like the boom bursts. So I was actually really happy to see you get it again, and you did end up using it. Not that much, but when you did, especially in the last battle you used it, it did pretty well.
Yeah, Xploud with the spread that I used, I believe it was maxed out HP and special attack with a modest nature, and then I used Specs because Spec Stab Boom Burst with Scrappy. Nothing's gonna want to take a hit from that.
Yeah, absolutely nothing.
and we really saw that. Yeah, Choice, Spec Stab Boom Burst with Modest and all the fixins, it can cripple a lot of Pokemon. I think it actually O-code Mega Charizard X
It
in
did.
one of the weeks.
Yeah, it did. That was the last week. Yeah, so really strong drafts. I honestly can't really find a hole in this team, and that's a really good thing. So really strong there.
Yeah. One of the future seasons, I'm gonna have to keep an eye out on Exploud because people saw what happened and they might want Exploud now.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel about Volcarona. I'm like, oh shit. Yeah,
I think Volcarona is going to probably be a big target next season. Mega Swampert.
Yeah, Mega Swampert for sure.
Like-
Mega Lopunny.
Like 90% of Noob Scrub's team. Because he got like all the bulk.
Yeah, he'll probably get Mega Venusaur first. I don't see anybody else getting it before him.
I do think Landorus, Therian, Latios will probably be other big targets as well.
Yeah,
That's just because they're legends and they have good base stat totals.
Yeah, in a way, I think you were pretty lucky in getting some of the Pokemon you did. But then again, there's such a good variety of Pokemon out there that in the higher tiers, like most of the picks are really good. But yeah, you did a really good job synergizing this team. So kudos to that. I want to move forward to your battle record and take a look at overall how you did in the league. So I just wanted to ask, overall, how do you think you did?
I personally think I did a lot better than I did in preseason.
Definitely, yeah.
I think around like week 2, I already knew I did immensely better, mostly because I got a W. And I don't know what happened after week 2. I just kind of fell into a really dark place, and I think that really just got into my battles, as we can see by the differentials. And then I don't really know what happened, but after I fought, I forgot his name, the coach of the Butcher Blissies.
Oh, Fingered Witch?
Yeah, I think something just clicked, and I just said, enough is enough. At this point, I'm out of playoffs. Let's just go in and let's just try to just fuck shit up. Let's just go in and try to finish off on a high note. And without a shadow of a doubt, beating Tiller, that was probably the highlight of the season, because I was expecting to lose that, and it was not going to be pretty.
Yeah, I noticed that the click near the end, where you really turned around. What do you think that it was like? Part of it had to do with like getting rid of the stress of playoffs.
I think it did have something. I think me being eliminated from playoffs around week 6, I think at that point, yeah, I was just able to just have fun with it. I already knew I wasn't making it, so at that point it was just have fun and try not to make too many enemies.
Yeah, and I think that really worked out. You did really well in those final 4 weeks. And I think that moving forward, hopefully you'll be able to hang on to that and remember that when it comes to like how you approach it, because sometimes just having that change in mindset of just like, you know what, let's just have fun, that's all you need sometimes. I think I definitely have experienced that in a lot of different things, not just Draft League, but yeah, so it was really cool to see that evolution and that growth in your team, especially compared to the preseason. I know that compared to some of the other people in the preseason and even in this season, you didn't have as much competitive Pokemon, I think you mentioned. Like, you weren't as into it as other people. I don't know if I'm remembering correctly.
I know in preseason I heavily considered just dropping out after week 3, and that was because it was just loss after loss after loss. And in preseason I got sniped, I think it was 31 times.
Oh yeah.
And that just killed morale for me in preseason. And coming into this season, not being sniped 31 times, having a much better idea as to what I wanted to do, I think it helped out a little bit. I think if I had put a little more thought into some of the fights, I could have possibly gone 6-4. The 2 wins that would probably be Quest and King Fuse. And I mean, I think those just came down to luck.
Well, we'll definitely look into the individual matches coming up. But yeah, definitely compared to the preseason, did really well, and you outranked your seed. So I think this was definitely a good season for you, and yeah, kudos for that. So we'll go into the individual battles now, and we're actually going to look at the battle with Quest. And in this one, you were actually leading, I think, in a lot of the battle. And then Azumarill did the Z belly drum, and that's where things really turned around. But before that, your team was actually leading, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Yeah, week 1, I really wanted to come out of the gate and hit hard, and I think going up against Quest, that was a really good spark just to really ignite this league and into what it ended up becoming, which was a really good league for everyone, I would say. I think the biggest thing that did me in this fight was, I think it was mostly nerves. I may have misread what Quest was going to do. And I kid you not, like a night or 2 before this fight, I was spending like countless hours just labbing out everything it could be. And the one thing that I did not account for was a Moongus. So when I saw Moongus, I started freaking out, because a Moongus is a really good pivot mon. It's got bulk, it's got some good special attack, it's got all sorts of things going for it.
Yeah.
So
Spore.
when I saw when I saw a Moongus, I just didn't really know what to do. But then when I got rid of a Moongus, I know a Moongus was probably like either the last kill or the second to last kill I got. And when I got it, I think I just thought I had it in the bag. I got cocky and I just choked it at the very end. I do think maybe if I didn't get cocky, I could have beat Quest, but I'm not mad with that. I'm not mad with that fight. I think it played out the way it probably should have.
It was a good fight. It was definitely really close, and Quest is also a really strong competitor, as we see him being in the semifinals right now. So yeah, I do think that this was still a good start to the league, just because it wasn't. It was a loss, but it was very close. So it was definitely a good start, and we could actually segue into the next battle, which was another good start, because, like you said, you got your first W.
Yeah, I remember being insanely happy knowing that I got my first W against Roland. Roland, he was another person who did not get a single win in preseason. And going into this battle, I'm not going to lie, his team was really intimidating. Like Mega Tyranitar, that could have easily just swept my team because it gets a lot of moves. I think Mega Tyranitar also gets elemental punches.
Yes, I believe so.
And I know it gets Superpower, it gets Dark Pulse, it gets Earthquake, it gets Stone Edge, and all of that just heavily cripples my team, because Earthquake beats Mega Aggron. I know it gets Dark Pulse, that beats Latios, Earthquake beats Zeraora, and Muckalola as well. And then for everything else, there's Latias, Staraptor, which Staraptor I think was probably the biggest threat on his team. And I planned around that and Latias more than anything.
What you did really well in this battle, in my opinion, was using Alomomola to create opportunities for other Pokemon to come in to sweep. Specifically Lando. You pivoted a lot, and it was in a really good way with Alomomola. So I think that was your big key to success in this battle.
One thing in this match I did notice was Roland has a really straightforward way. That's probably the best way I can word it without probably insulting him. But I think he has a lot of faith in his Pokemon, and he likes to keep them in. He liked to keep them in whenever he could, just so he could try to get the kills with them. And I really do applaud that method of just believing in the Pokemon a lot more, thinking they can take hits. And yeah, I kind of felt bad when I 5-0'd him. I'm not even gonna lie. I felt like it should have been a lot closer.
I spoke with him earlier, and I actually I mentioned to you earlier that I was fixing something, and his interview, I ended up the sound is good, but I ended up recording the completely wrong screen, so I had to fix that. But yeah, he mentioned that he had a lot of love for his Pokemon because they were the Pokemon that he used in Gen 4 when he went against Cynthia. So he said that in the beginning he was still finding his footing, but as he moved on, he felt a little more comfortable. And he said that he also wanted to give newer Pokemon a try because he only had Gen 4 up to Gen 4 Pokemon, so he wanted to give newer ones a try. So I'm excited to see how he actually incorporates that moving forward. And yeah, I think there's good things to come from everybody. I think everybody learned a few things from this league. So
yeah. I think I really want to see how Roland goes into the upcoming season. I am genuinely interested to see where he goes and what he drafts.
Yeah, same here. We talked a little bit about it in the interview video, which I'll hopefully have up maybe tomorrow, because after this I'm definitely going to have to go to bed, but probably tomorrow. But yeah, this was a really good fight. A nice start for you, having your first W. And so we move into the battle versus Noob Scrub, the American Braviaries. And this battle you encountered, well, everybody knows Noob Scrub's the king of stall.
Yep.
And not many people like playing against stall. So this one was a little bit tougher, for sure. What do you think? This was like I said, your first encounter with Saul. What did you learn from this battle in how to face stall? Did you pick up like any strategies and like, okay, this is something I could do versus stall that maybe I could incorporate next time?
I think the biggest thing with stall, aside from the fact that I just really did not like the stall matches that I fought in this league. I think the biggest thing I could probably do going into matches where I know it's going to be very hyper stall is maybe try to bring hyper offense, maybe a lot of insanely good wall breakers. Mm-hmm. As we see Dusclops and Mega Venusaur and Chansey, which if you're bringing out a Chansey, 99 times out of 100, it's going to be Eviolited.
Yeah.
Bulu is kind of a jack of all, and Polion, you more often see it as bulky, but I think hyper offense and a lot of wall breakers would probably be the thing to cripple insane defense teams like Noob Scrub.
Yeah, I agree. I think like Exploud actually would probably be good in taking some of the Pokemon down because its Boom Burst is just so strong that even defensive Mons have trouble tanking 2 hits from it.
And I mean, this match was the only match where I brought Miss Magius, and I really do not think this was the fight to bring Miss Magius. Like, I was just running through my team trying to figure out a Mon to bring, something that could maybe shut down his Gallade, because I believe his Gallade was his designated hyper offense Mon.
Yeah.
And then I knew he had Dusclops. I was expecting Mega Venusaur and Bulu and Empoleon and Chansey. I was expecting like almost all of his team, but I just didn't know how to counter it. And knowing that I brought Miss Magius and it just got mollywopped and then just never using again, I don't think I did Miss Magius justice. Like, after that fight, I just said no to Miss Magius.
Yeah, Miss Magius is kind of a hard Pokemon to use, in my opinion. It's just very frail, and it doesn't hit too hard before a nasty plot boost, so yeah, that's the problem with Miss Magius, in my opinion. But yeah, lessons can definitely be learned from the stall matches, because there are ways around it, especially when you know you're going to face stall. So yeah, lessons to carry forward for the next league. And we could actually move on to the next battle, which is versus Wooper Blooper. This team actually isn't... It's not stall, but it's like bulky offense mixed with stall. It's a little less stally than Noob Scrub's team. But still very much more defensive. Except Dragonite can boost and then go for the offensive as well.
Yeah. The biggest thing with this, I was an avid follower of watching Lion Hugs and his battles, so I knew he was going to be bringing Sylveon and Dragonite. The rest of the team was kind of up in the air. And the Quagsire, that kind of surprised me. I knew Quagsire could get Toxic, which was kind of why I brought Muckalola to hard counter the Toxic, plus it can eat up like anything Quagsire really throws at it. But I honestly don't know what really happened here. I think I might have misread a move, and that just led to my downfall. Like, I know at one point Quagsire got a Toxic off, I think on Alomomola.
Yeah.
And seeing as how Alomomola was pretty much my designated wall, and after it went down, my team just kind of crumbled. And I really do applaud Lion Hugs for having Heal Bell on Sylveon and having a bulky Sweeper Dragonite. It's just, I just don't know how to, I just still didn't know how to play against anything involving bulk at this point in time. Most of the fights I've played before this league, they were balanced teams. They had an equal amount of walls, physical sweepers, and special sweepers, and that's kind of how I build my teams. So seeing all this bulk, I think I just caved into the pressure. Like, I just needed to take out a wall, and then I could get an opening.
Yeah, I think also you ended up facing the two most defensive teams back to back. So after this, it got a little bit more in the offensive range, which is something that I think you're a little more well versed in. And actually, we can move on and look at the next battle, which is a little bit more offensive. And this battle was a loss, but it was by a much less margin. So I think this shows now some of the momentum you had moving towards the second part of the league. In this battle, Zeraora was actually really good for you. It did a lot. And then there was one moment where Wobbuffet ended up taking out Zeraora, and I think that was the turning point.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie, I was really looking forward to the Grand Island Jolteons match, as the original coach of this team, Napkin, he and I, we go way back. We were friends back in high school. He was the one who actually got me into competitive battling. And it just kind of sucks that he had to drop out after 2 weeks due to personal reasons.
Yeah.
Because he had this whole thing with his team involving Thunderous Therian, Klefki, and Yuxi, and on paper it was just really, really good. I'm not going to spoil the strategy for anybody who's still trying to figure it out, but I really wanted to go in with that mindset this season, but he went first and he just shut me down because he knew what I was going for. So I tried to pull my own spin on it, and that's how I got Landorus Therian. If we had actually fought, I would have called it the Battle of the Genies, because we both had a genie Pokemon. I'm not gonna lie, I wanted Bulu, but it got sniped. And then I was also thinking Azelf in the draft, but I don't know what happened with Azelf. I think Azelf got sniped from me as well.
No one got Azelf this time around, actually.
And I don't know what I was thinking. I should have gotten Azelf.
But this was definitely a closer match than the previous two, and I think that's probably because it was a lot less bulky.
Yeah, the biggest things that did me in were definitely Wobbuffet with, I think it was, I don't even remember what the berry was, but he held a berry. Yeah, Custap Berry. Custap Berry, Destiny Bond. I was not expecting that. I didn't even know. I thought it would have been leftovers, but it wasn't regaining health, so I was genuinely clueless. And also, I really built my team around expecting Mega Sceptile, because Mega Sceptile outspeeds Zeraora, I believe, very slightly.
Yeah, it's surprising.
Or if not, then it's very close. Zera outspeeds.
Surprising that we didn't even see Mega Sceptile in the whole league.
Yeah, I talked with Napkin about this. He said he only drafted Mega Sceptile for the points.
That's actually hilarious.
But yeah, I was planning for Mega Sceptile to come in, because yeah, that's just a really scary Pokemon. And that's kind of why I brought Togekiss and Latios and Zeraora, and I'm really glad that Zeraora and Togekiss were at least able to get all of the kills that I got in that fight.
Yeah, it was a close one for sure.
Yeah, Wobbuffet and expecting Mega Sceptile, I think that was the thing that probably did me in.
Kind of sad we didn't see Mega Sceptile, but yeah, Wobbuffet was definitely the wild card this time around, especially with Custap Berry. That's one of those things that works once, though. Like, I'm sure all the teams watching after are like, okay, that's not gonna work versus me now. Yeah,
just knock off.
Yeah. So your next battle was versus Butcher Blissies, and in this battle, Ditto was really, really tough, I think, in particular for your team.
I'm gonna throw this out here. I really don't remember a whole lot about this match. I know Jirachi was a nightmare, because Jirachi being one of those 100 base stat around the board Pokemon, that was going to be a big threat. Mega Altaria, that's all bulk, and it seems to be the recurring theme of these 10 weeks. Bulk is my worst enemy.
Yeah, Mega Altaria and Arcanine are kind of bulky offensive. And then Ditto copied Lando. I think that was the thing that was really tough on your team, because
I had 3 Pokemon weak to ground in Mega Aggron, Zera, and Makalola.
Yeah. That's the hard thing about planning against Ditto. You have to plan to counter the opponent's team, but then also to counter each one of your Pokemon. So Ditto can be really scary. I was actually planning on getting Ditto, but yeah, then Butcher Blissies got it before me. But it was okay. I managed to adapt and get other Pokemon instead, but
And this was I believe this was the debut battle for Cryogonal.
yes,
And,
it was.
and I think I brought Cryogonal strictly for Lurantis and Mega Altaria. I'm pretty sure there's another Pokemon that was weak to ice that I was expecting, but my mind is just drawing a blank on this week.
Well, this week is the final week of that, I think, slump that you had, and then next week, which we could actually go into now, versus the Star Conquerors. This is where where that click happened, where you kind of clicked, and Rapidash had a stellar performance in this one.
Yeah, in this match, I think something just snapped. Like, in the Butcher Blissies and Rio and my team's fight, that was a fight just to stay alive for the both of us. I had actually did the math, and I had a playoff picture going in Not So Secret. But yeah, I did the math, and both me and Butcher Blissies were doing that. So knowing that I was eliminated and he just massacred me to stay alive, something just snapped. And Rapidash and Cryogonal, lots of respect for Cryogonal this week. That was just an insane duo. Cryo getting not one but two freezes back to back, I believe.
Yeah, there was two freezes.
Like, I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't even expecting the first freeze, but when I got that first freeze, I just let out a sigh of relief, thinking, I can still do this. And then when he swapped out of, I think it was Ferrothorn? It was either Ferrothorn or Celebi. Into Passimian.
I thought it was Gastrodon.
Yeah, it might have been Gastrodon. I did not review this battle, like, in the slightest. All I remember is that I got two freeze hacks. I know Cryo did get the kill on Gastrodon. And then I know after he swapped out of whatever Pokemon that was into Passimian, and I just clicked Ice Beam, I believe is what it was, and I got another freeze. I just popped off and started laughing. That was probably the biggest flex for Cryogonal. And I think that really set up for Rapidash to come in and just sweep, taking out Celebi, Passimian, and Ferrothorn, one right after the other. Yeah,
Cryogonal... Rapidash actually was the MVP in this battle. Or was it the next battle?
No, it was this one.
Yeah,
because I don't think I brought Rapidash in the next week.
I had it for week 7 MVP. I guess this is week 7, but yeah. So Rapidash actually got MVP for that battle, but Cryogonal was just as important in setting up the conditions for Rapidash to sweep. So really good, especially for both of those Pokemon, which was nice because they were kind of the unexpected ones. They had that underdog factor.
Yeah, nobody really expects Cryogonal to do a whole lot, mostly because it got overshadowed by Beartic and Vanillux in its debut generation, and then in Gen 6 there was Avalugg.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what the ice types were in Gen 7, but they weren't doing Cryogonal any justice either.
Yeah. So good on Cryogonal in this match.
And I really can't stress this enough. Lots of newfound respect for Cryogonal.
Yeah. And I think you were considering trading it, but then you didn't, so...
There were two Pokemon that I heavily considered trading. Cryogonal was one of them, just because I've never used Cryogonal before, so I didn't know how to really build around a Cryogonal. And then the other was, surprisingly, Mismagius. My first choice for both an Ice and a Ghost type was Frostlass, but we saw Rollin snipe that from me. I think it was like in one of the last rounds. And if he had offered to trade Frostlass for Mismagius, I would have taken it in a heartbeat, because that was first choice for a Ghost type next to Mimikyu, but I wasn't going to get Mimikyu. And then, Cryogonal, I heavily considered trading just because I didn't know. And I'm really glad that I didn't.
Yeah.
Because if I did trade Cryogonal, I would probably have not gotten this win.
Yeah,
or if I did, it would have been a lot closer.
Cragonal was pivotal for you in this one, so I'm glad you didn't trade. And then moving forward to downtown Darmanitan, this was a really big upset because Tiller was seed 3.
Tiller at that point, I believe, was confirmed for playoffs. He was on a downward spiral, and I think I might have gotten him a little cocky around week 4 after he 5 or 6-0'd whoever. I remember that conversation vividly. His Quest called me out in the Discord, and now I'm calling him out in the postseason recap.
Well,
but
needless to say, he did really well in the season. So
I don't know what happened there. I'm not gonna lie. I was going in expecting to lose. I just wanted to make it close. And this was a really good back and forth match. Like I'm proud that I won this match, but I'm also proud that there were just so many, to put it, for lack of a better term, vibe checks amongst the Pokemon.
Yeah.
I know Latios just did the hardest power move ever, and that was when I clicked Draco. I don't even think I predicted the switch on the Zygarde 10%, the switch into it, but when it came in and Draco Meteor hit, I remember watching that and everybody was freaking out about it.
Yeah, that was intense. That was was really
And
good.
then I think it was goalie Sopa on his end who got the power check on me. I don't remember who it was on, but it was on somebody.
That's how battles with Tiller go. They're explosive.
Right. Yeah, Tiller played really well this match. I can't stress this enough. I was not expecting to win.
Well, when you had asked me for some advice in this battle, and the team you showed me, I thought you were gonna do really well because you approached Tiller from the lens of offense, and I think that's what you have to do with Tiller. You have to really focus on offense because you can't really defend against him because he just wall breaks too much.
Yeah, so this was pretty much a battle of who had the better hyper offense.
Yeah.
And I mean, he had a really scary team. Like, he had goalie Sopod, who has like 160 attack. And then Zygarde 10%, who has like 130 speed and 100 attack. And then there's Tapu Koko, which we all know what Tapu Koko can do.
Yeah. And you brought offensive Togekiss. I thought that was interesting and really cool, too. Because usually Togekiss goes for defense, but yeah. So this was a really good battle, I think, and another win. And then moving forward, we have the battle versus Elemental Dragons. This battle, I think you were either even or winning, but Sandslash in Hail really was a surprise factor in this battle.
Yeah, I remember this week really well. This week was not a really good week for me in my personal life. I really don't want to delve into that here. But I know for a fact that I was out of my apartment at the time. And I was looking for a new apartment. We're going to leave it at that. And like, this battle was just on the back burner for me. I just completely forgot about it after I scheduled. And I had built this team in 5 minutes. And I'm not even making that up. I was doing some quick labbing on the way home. And then I just threw a team together in 5 minutes. And I'm actually kind of surprised I played as well as I did. I wasn't really expecting Sandslash Alola. And seeing as how I brought it, and I knew it had Slush Rush, but I forgot what Slush Rush did. And I think I was a little underprepared. Just building the team in 5 minutes, not getting to sit down and actually weigh every single option like how I did in the previous weeks. I think that was the thing that did me in.
Yeah.
Also, Salazzle.
To be honest, when Hail was up and Sandslash went first, I was like, what? And then I was like, oh right, Slush Rush. I actually forgot when I was commentating that I had Slush Rush. So yeah, this was an L, but it was the last L for you because the next battle you actually won versus Canopy Defenders. Another upset. Edgar, a really, really strong trainer. And in this one, to me, I think the pivotal moment was X-Cloud taking out Mega Charizard in one shot.
There were like two Pokemon that I was really, really afraid of, and they were Registeel and surprisingly not Mega Charizard, but Mimikyu. And that's because Mimikyu, it gets Disguise, so it gets a free hit, so it can set up Swords Dance. And it's already fast enough as it is. Like, I think it has like 80 speed. I don't know the exact speed. So with that 80 speed, with a decent nature, and more times than not, it's just a standard 252 attacking speed. And then either Adamant or Jolly, depending on what you need. Like, I was really worried about Mimikyu and Registeel, because Registeel was all bulk, and I think that did it in on a few of my Pokemon. But above all, the surprising thing about Edgar's team was Nihilego. Like, yeah. I was ready to just write it off the second it came in with Landorus Therian, because my Lando was scarfed. It was gonna outspeed everything pretty much. And then Nihilego comes in. It's scarfed.
Yeah.
It had to have been scarfed. If it was anything else, I don't know how it was able to outspeed Landorus Therian.
Yeah, it was scarfed. Edgar runs Scarf Nihilego very often, so.
Yeah, Nihilego was definitely the biggest threat out of all of them. It was nice to bring back Exploud. It was a nice, to put it nicely, return to form for me, because in Gen 6, Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire days, I would always have an Exploud on my team, and if not, well then I was heavily considering it. So actually getting to use Exploud against all these OU and UU mons when it itself is NU, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, NU.
It might be RU, I'm not sure, but it's definitely not OU or UU.
It just felt really satisfying to just go in and just start sweeping with it. It didn't get a whole lot of kills, but it at least survived. And it took I think it was a Sludge Wave from Nihilego, and it really broke it down alongside Charizard, and I think it did really good damage to Starmie and Registeel.
Yeah, it was very pivotal, and Virizion too.
Virizion pretty much came in and cleaned up what Exploud did.
Yeah.
Kind of just came in and finished the job, and I think Virizion and Exploud can be a really scary duo as well.
Definitely. I liked seeing Exploud a lot in this match. I think that was a nice note for you to end on, for sure. As this was the final battle of the regular season. Looking into the Pokemon, you actually had a pretty good differential overall of your Pokemon. 6 of them not being negative, and then 6 of them being negative, so it was pretty balanced. And it seems like the Pokemon you used most actually was Mega Aggron, Zeraora, and Latios.
Yeah, that kind of came as a surprise to me. Mostly Mega Aggron. Latios and Zera, I knew what I was doing because they are just really, really strong Pokemon, able to do a lot. But Mega Aggron, I was genuinely surprised with just how well it fit into my team. Miss Magius, looking at Miss Magius, seeing that I only used it 1 week, it really told me that I did not do this Pokemon any justice. And I really do think it was just that 1 week that just had me say no to it.
Yeah, I think maybe after that bad experience, maybe you were reluctant to use it again.
Like, I'm not gonna lie though, I also am kind of shocked to see just how low the differential is on Alomomola and Muckalola. I thought they did a lot better than they actually did this season.
Well,
I mean,
what the differential doesn't show is how much they walled things, because they don't get as much kills as sweepers because they're more defensive, but they did take a lot of damage, and that was their purpose, to wall things and hit back, or to heal teammates in Alamomola's case. So walls usually tend to have lower differential, but that doesn't mean that they didn't do a good job.
Rapidash, I'm really glad that both Rapidash and Exploud ended in the positive, because they're my two go-to Pokemon. Lando, I'm kind of shocked that it went 8-7, 8 kills, 7 deaths. But I mean, you use it every week, it's bound to die a lot, and it's bound to get a lot of kills. So, I mean, Verizon being my best Pokemon, that is a complete shock, because even then I don't think I did Verizon any justice, only bringing it 3 weeks.
You didn't bring it that much, but when you did, it did pretty well.
Yeah, it did well against Quest. It really I think it shut down a lot of his Pokemon, or at least had to make him think a little bit more. And then in previous weeks, I believe it was I'm just gonna look through the things a few more times, because I've already forgotten the weeks. And against Benja and who was the other one? Benja got a lot of justice there, and I don't remember who the other person was. My mind is just really drawn a blank.
That's all right.
I'm really surprised that it did as well as it did, because I feel like I severely underused Verizon, and I probably should have used it more.
I think overall, this is a good record, though. Especially, again, compared to the preseason, there's growth, and that's really good to see. Which Pokemon was your favorite to use?
I think my favorite Pokemon that I enjoyed using, I think it was probably Landorus Therian. Landorus Therian I almost never used in the main series Pokemon games, and I never really used it on Showdown before now. Come to think of it, I haven't used like almost any of these Pokemon aside from Exploud and Togekiss in the main series Pokemon games and on Showdown. But overall, I think I'd say Landorus was probably my favorite to use, just because I knew what I was doing more than with any other Pokemon.
Right. And Landorus is just a really good Pokemon in general, so yeah, definitely makes sense there. So I wanted to get a few final questions in before we close up the interview. What about your perspective has changed with this league? I know we talked a little bit about some of the growth you had. Anything else that you wanted to mention in terms of a changing perspective or what you've learned?
The biggest thing that I've probably learned about this league is to probably have a lot more faith in my Pokemon. Like, there have been numerous situations where they kind of just pulled out a lucky crit or a status, or they lived on 1, and them living on 1 was what gave me a much needed kill to bring in a W, or to just help cripple the opposing team, just so I could bring it in closer. It just goes to show the only HP that matters is the last one. And all around, using all these Pokemon that I haven't really used, it really has given me a newfound respect for a lot of these Pokemon. Cryogonal, Virizion, and to some extent Muckalola, because I just wrote off Muckalola in Gen 7 as it's going to be garbage. But it turned out to really help me out in this league, so it really opened up my eyes to try a lot more ideas and not just write off a mon just because it has bad base stats.
Yeah, I'm glad, and I think I've seen that especially after when you use Cryogonal, for example, and then you used it more, even though you hadn't used it before. It seemed like you had this newfound respect for Cryogonal. So that's definitely something I like to see. I like seeing that, and I think you had that, and a lot of other people did too. So that was something that I was really happy about. I wanted to ask, are there any final thoughts you had in general about the league? Maybe about other teams that you found interesting, some other battles that maybe you found interesting, any comments about the league in general, etc.?
One of the more interesting matches that I've seen, I did take a liking to a lot of your matches, mostly because there were points in time where you were really far down, and I was pretty much writing it off as a loss for you, but then you just turned it around. One of the biggest ones was definitely when you fought Tiller.
Oh my god, yeah.
I think you fell down 6-1, and then you brought it back with Pillow Swine.
It was it wasn't 6-1. It was a big amount. It wasn't 6, but yeah. That I literally thought I had lost that.
Yeah, Pillow Swine is really scary. I might want to draft Pillow Swine next league.
And it's only tier 5.
And it was tier 5, and that was surprising. Really good mons came out of tier 5 this season.
Yeah. I'm actually going to be editing the tiers a little bit to reflect, I think, a little bit more accurately. I'm actually moving Piloswine up to tier 4, because I don't think it's a tier 5 Pokemon. I think it's a lot better than tier 5.
One of the biggest things with the tiers that shocked me was when me and Napkin, we were looking at this we were looking at it right before the draft started. The biggest thing that stood out to us was Gothitelle was tier 1.
Yes, it's because it has Shadow Tag. And it's legal.
I'm not gonna lie. I was joking with Napkin about drafting it kind of as a meme, and I'm kind of glad that I didn't. But there was a really big part of me that was just eating at me like, draft it. You know you want to. Everybody's gonna have that one meme Pokemon, because I know somebody drafted Natu. Yeah. And somebody else drafted Voltorb. I think Colin drafted Voltorb.
Colin, yeah. And
so I was sitting there like, I want to draft Gothitelle, but I never acted on it. But that really stood out to me. Yeah, I was also paying really close attention to Line Hugs' matches, because Line Hugs, he was fierce like this whole season. I can't really word it any other way. Like he was just fierce. I think he finished 8-2, maybe 7-3.
6-4.
6-4. But he still played really well in all of his matches, and he was really fun to watch. Like after I got eliminated, I kind of stopped watching, and I feel like I probably should have kept watching, because maybe I could have learned something from his team. Colin, he was a really good person who helped me team build, who was actually in the league. I had people outside of the league helping me build teams as well. So,
yeah, Colin and I actually practice every week. It was really cool building that connection with him. He's a really cool guy.
I'm not gonna lie, I would love to have an actual fight with him and you, either like after this season is said and done, or maybe next season, like just deliberately make it so I fight him week 1 and then I fight you week 2.
I would definitely be down to do a fight with this season. Next season, my team is going to be totally different. So that's just a heads up for that. The only Pokemon that I'm interested in keeping is Volcarona. I'm not going to keep any of the others because I want to go totally different. So.
Yeah, I mean, you might want to keep an eye out on Volcarona, because if I go before you, I will snipe it. I saw what it did. I saw what it did this season. I think it won the MVP race for regular season.
It did, yes.
So, naturally, I want it. And I found out that it actually gets Psychic.
Yeah. It was very valuable in my battle versus Noob Scrub.
I did not know it got Psychic, and now I want it even more now, because it gets Psychic.
Well, I will be sure to draft it as soon as possible so that it doesn't get sniped. But if not, I have backups, so whatever. But
yeah. Overall, this was a really good season. I feel like my actions in the league were not a good representation of what I really stand for in Pokemon, and a lot of people really saw this ugly side of me, and above all, I really do want to issue a really sincere apology to the entire league for my actions over that. Like, just calling people out, saying Noob Scrub is cowardly because he plays heavy stall, and to some extent I think that also found its way towards line hugs as well. And I felt like during those weeks I was just that was just not me, and I really am sorry for my actions over that.
Well, I definitely appreciate the apology, and I think that you've grown, like, not only in your battle record, but I definitely noticed a tone shift in your attitude too, and I think that was really important, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate the apology. I was really glad that you joined the league, and I do hope that you are interested in joining future leagues, because I think you've grown a lot, and I think you'll continue growing. And I like seeing that. I think you're a really cool person, and so seeing you have that growth and being able to participate with all of us is really cool. And I'm glad that right now, at least, it seems like you are in a better place, not just in Pokemon, but just in general, compared to what you were talking about during those particular weeks.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that the league can forgive me, and going forward we can have a better relationship. So yeah, there is that. Right now I have these, since the like around week 2 things started falling apart for me pretty quick, and I'm not trying to make an excuse for my actions, because my actions are unexcusable and dare I say it, unforgivable. But I think, given that I did not make playoffs and I have this time to reflect, it will help me improve going forward.
Yeah, definitely. And I definitely think you will, because you have shown that you can, and so I believe in you. I think you are definitely on the right path right now, and I welcome you into the next league. So if you wanna join, I will welcome you.
I think I would enjoy joining in another league, and hopefully we have a lot more people who do join, because I think we had 14 people this season.
Yes.
I'm thinking hopefully maybe next season we can have at least 17 teams, maybe. So that way, and then maybe we just have 16 weeks where we actually play every single team. I think that would be cool.
I'm wondering how many people will join. I think at least the same amount as this season, but we'll see. I'm not really sure.
I really do want to see where the league goes from here, and if people just cannot forgive me for my actions in this season, I totally understand, but when in doubt, if I do keep joining these leagues, maybe I'll just be the villain of the season.
Nah, there's no villains.
The team that people just love to hate, but it's like a friendly kind of hate.
If anything, if you want to be a heel, that could be fine. If it's all fun and games, but we're all welcoming here and fun and friendly. I think that's the kind of vibe that we aim to go for. So yeah, but I am looking forward to more leagues and seeing what you bring to the table, and I'm really glad that you were able to participate this time, and that you were able to grow and to do this interview with me. It was a really good interview, and I'm really happy that you agreed to do it.
Thanks for having me. I didn't really have much to do tonight, so I'm really glad that we were able to do this.
Yeah, same. And thank you for joining me. Don't take Volcarona next league. I'm kidding. No, if you want to,
I won't take Volcarona if you won't take Exploud and Rapidash.
Okay, that's the deal. No, but if you want to, you can. But yeah, so next league I'll hopefully be seeing you, and of course in between then there's still a lot of Smash to play, and of course we could have our unofficial match. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me in this interview, and this was the team analysis of Rio Grande Rapidash. Join in for more team interviews coming later on. There are, I believe, 8 more teams left to analyze after making this video, so stay tuned. And yeah, this was Emberhoof from Rio Grande Rapidash. If you want to say any last words before I close this interview.
I think that's gonna be all from me today.
All right, and that's a wrap. And yeah, so thanks again for joining me, and until the next team analysis vid, I'll see you then.
All right.